What's up? It's James, or the Reverend sometimes. Despite certainly being about the furthest thing from a Reverend you can imagine. Today I'm driving around, and quite literally just driving around, exploring, listening to Kagerou's Biological Slicer, their first maxi-single, and I think the first CD they released after a couple demo tapes. And I wanted to talk about this because Kagerou and this CD especially, and others, they have some awesome releases, were really influential in my VK fandom. And I think influential in the kind of VK I like, now. Some of the bands I'm still into, you can hear Kagerou's influence, Abel Kane a couple years ago, Zaza Now, that Zigzag CD I just reviewed. I think it's fair to say those bands definitely have listened to Kagerou and enjoyed them and used some, take some stylistic cues from them. So my fellow Monochromy and Emny did a great, the definitive write-up on Kagerou after they had finalized their lineup from 2002 to 2003. After they finalized their lineup to their first album, so Emny's piece was great, but it did leave out a couple singles, this one in particular. So 2 of the 3 songs on here were re-recorded a couple years later on the Fire and Water singles. Archite, which I haven't played right now, but I really enjoyed that sort of mid-tempo rocker Kagerou, not a banger or not a ballad. Archite, Yubikiri, Sakebi, all 3 of those tracks are great. Archite even has one of those stylistic editing beeps that I love. Also included here is Wrist Cutter, which, the riff is here, but I think sounds a lot better re-recorded. Daisuke manages later on, his voice got both more refined, but also more manic, if that makes sense anywhere other than just my head. I think those songs are better for the re-recordings. So really what that leaves. Also, an aside about the Wrist Cutter video, which is a collection of live clips. Oh my god, that was huge. That was 4 years before YouTube was even a thing. So we didn't get to see a lot of indies VK bands live performances. And it seemed so fun. The band were so energized. Daisuke really interacts with the crowd. I remember half seriously thinking, I wonder if I could pull off a white sequin suit. Luckily, the rational part of my brain came through and I did not investigate that further. So anyway, Wrist Cutter, Archite got re-recorded. That leaves this, Saigo no Kensa, which is a slower track, as you can hear maybe by the down-tempo bass solo happening at the moment. But I wouldn't call it a ballad, per se. And it really shows off what I think one of the things that makes Daisuke great is just pushing his voice to the edge of breaking. He's great at making you feel moods and emotions, even when you don't understand the language. And that sound of him just pushing his vocal cords a little further than they should be, which in his range, he just does it perfectly. At the end of the chorus here, he belts out Aishiteta, which I think is I loved you. And underneath Yuana, which I think is the guitarist's name, he's layering, there's 2 guitar tracks. One is this really dirty, fuzzy, staticky, just a sort of bass line. You almost can't even pick out chords or notes in it. And on top you've got the really sparkly individual notes really bright sounding, and they just combine. Oh. Those sounds just combine to create such a good, like, goosebump giving, like, dissonance, and then Daisuke really giving it his all on top. I just thought, you know, this CD, even though 2/3 of it got re-recorded, was worth talking about and listening to because of this song alone. And it's a shame that they obviously didn't think this one was worthy of being re-recorded when they got a little more money for some studio time. It's just got a funky vibe throughout most of it, and a great, especially for the early days, great Daisuke vocal performance that is not to be missed. And as the CD ends, I will also sign off, say goodbye, talk to you guys later.